Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California and I'm in my rainbow garden. Today I want to talk about planting, starting seeds, doing things on the cheap, and why I do what I do and what am I doing. What I am doing is I am growing my vegetables in what's called a raised bed. This is a raised bed. It may be a tote, storage container, whatever you want to call it, or even a bucket. It's a raised bed. It's something that's off the ground, not growing directly in the ground. Now, a raised bed can be on the ground, but you're still growing in matter that's above your soil, your native soil. That's what a raised bed is. Now, a lot of you are growing in great big raised beds. You can buy them all different sizes, or you can make them. You can make them out of, say, cement block, wood, or whatever you want to make them out of. I have chosen to do this. I have done it all different ways. I've been gardening basically since I was a kid. Not always successful, but tried so many things, and I've actually given it up in the past too because it's been expensive and not successful. And when you're not successful, you start to want to do something else, go on to another project. Well, since I've changed my way of doing it for the past 5 years now, this is the only way I'm going to go. This has been the most successful way of doing a garden for me. Now, you can lay these out. These totes, if you decide to try totes, they're like $5 a piece. You can lay them out in any formation you want. You can set them up just like you would a great big raised bed, side by side, and have it that way. You can put it on a chair, you can put it on the ground, you can put it on a table if you've got it strong enough, you can put it on cement blocks, you can do it whatever way you want. The reason I like these is because I can go at my pace. My pace. I can plant as I want in my pace, and I can do it on the cheap. I can fill the whole bottom with twigs and branches, bits and pieces of wood, some shredded paper, toilet paper rolls, all that doesn't have a whole lot of nutrition can go on the bottom. And you can fill it almost halfway up with all that. Then you start putting in your kitchen scraps, leaves. Now, I use a lot of green leaf matter. I go around the garden. I'll get back to that in a minute. There's something I want to say on that. Go around the garden. I pick a lot of green leaves, yellowing leaves, leaves that don't look so nice, and I fill that up with brown leaves. So it's a mix of things. And then on top of that, after I've gotten all that in there, maybe some more kitchen scraps, I then put a layer of compost, broken down wood chips that are ready to grow in, or potting soil. So I've got about 6 inches of potting soil on the top to grow in because that's where the plants are going to start. What I was going to say on why I like my own pace is if I didn't have a lot of green matter around, I could start one tote at a time. And as my plants get big and don't need the bottom leaves because the bottom leaves are browning, I can start to use that in the next tote or the totes down the line that I'm going to grow in. That's what's wonderful is you're going to start making your own soil out of your own plants. Now, I have a lot of critters here. I have to deal with rabbits, squirrels, other rodents, all kinds of things around here, including gophers. Oh my gosh, if you've got gophers, one of my neighbors had gophers, they could not do a garden. Gophers will come up and what do they want to eat? Either your nice new plants or all the roots where it looks so beautiful and then all of a sudden it's dying, the plant, and you touch it and there's no roots left. Gophers cannot get into raised beds that have a bottom. If you've got a raised bed that's open and you've built a raised bed and there's no bottom on it and you're using the native soil and you've got gophers, they will find it if you've got them in your yard and in the area in which you're growing. In a tote or a raised bed that's got a solid bottom, they can't get in there, or a bucket, they can't get in there. And they're not going to climb. That's one thing they're not going to do. Other rodents might, other things might. Now, rabbits cannot get into the chairs that I've set up, and that's why I like it so much. They can't get in there. So it works out perfect. So as you know, I fill up the totes with everything around the yard as far as trimmings off of trees. And then I do the kitchen scraps and the greens. And then I do the potting soil. Now, here is something else I really haven't talked about a lot. When you fill the center part up with a lot of green matter, green and brown mixed, the microbes get in there and want to break all that down, including the kitchen scraps. And what it does, it creates heat, but not that much heat. We're not dealing with a massive pile that's 10, 15 foot tall. We're dealing with a small amount, a foot, let's say 2 feet, but not even. So it creates heat. Now, by creating heat, guess what I've done? I've gotten a jump start on my garden. Not only that, I can designate one tote to just get my seeds growing in there. whether I plant my seeds directly and then take them out and plant them where I want, or put them in small flower pots and then move them that way, because the heat is so mild. It's only like 65, 75 degrees, but it's enough to get your seeds going, because a lot of seeds, tomato seeds like it warm. That's why some people get heat mats when they're starting their seeds. Peppers like it 70 degrees, but you can actually start them in a tote. Designate one tote just for your seeds and then do it the way you want, whether it's little pots, paper cups. You can sit them on the soil. So you would build it just like you would to grow in, and I'm doing both. I'm growing and growing seeds. But then you can put your seeds in there and then move them where you want. I have found totes to be the best thing to grow in. I like the idea that I can come out here and do one at a time. I did my chair garden, and that was so wonderful. All those totes in a circle, and I got to do one at a time. I didn't have to come out here with a 8-foot raised bed and fill the whole thing up. If I was going to fill it up, I didn't have enough matter from around here, I'd have to go buy soil. And the soil I would buy could end up costing me $200 or $300 to fill up an 8-foot raised bed if I was going to get good organic soil. So it can get costly, and that was the reason years ago I kind of pulled back. It was costing a lot of money, and it was harder actually to take care of. These are so easy to maintain. You can grow 2 squash with other things growing around it, carrots, beets, radishes, onions. You can grow all kinds of stuff with the squash. So you can have basically different things going at the same time. And then if you're tired of that, you compost it and grow something else. I know people that have gotten a raised bed. And I went over there and I looked at it. I said, you didn't put that much soil. Now, I don't raise my soil all the way to the top. I put it to about that far. I leave about 4 inches from the top, so it kind of protects it from wind and the temperatures around it. It seems to do really good. So I don't go to the top. But he had his raised beds only about that deep. And I said, your plants need more soil. They're all root bound already. He just planted them. And he said, do you know how much these bags cost? And he walked me over. He said, these bags are like, he had big bags, $25 a bag. He said, it's costing me a fortune. That's true. And if you've got a raised bed that's 8 foot long, then you've got to fill the whole thing. You can't fill half and then go back later and do the other half, because the soil and the water is going to go all over the place. You have to at least set up the whole thing. With smaller raised beds, you can set one up at a time. Now, I could have had my rainbow garden completely done by now, but I've got so many gardens around here now, and I like doing craft projects, and I work. So it's like I'm going at my pace. And that's what I love about these. I can go at my pace, come out here in the evening, set up one tote. The other night I set up 4 totes. Didn't take me that long to get my zucchini, my gray zucchini going. So this is what I like. You can do these containers on the cheap. You can do it at your own pace, and you can start seeds in them. You can start your seeds now if you don't have snow, but you're still cold, by filling it up with a lot of green matter. And you will have to look for green matter. You may have to go to your neighbors and say, hey, can I trim a little bit around your yard? Fill it up with your wood, your brown on the bottom, whatever you want to get rid of on the bottom. Then fill it up with your green matter in the center, mixed green and brown. You want that mix. See if you can look under flower pots, grab some earthworms and throw it in there, because it will never get warm enough to cook any of your insects that you need, your microbes, your earthworms, even grubs get in there. It's not going to cook it. And then you could actually start your seeds in there. And when you feel it's the right time, be it at the end of May, be it in the middle of June, whenever it's time, you can take the seedlings out and transplant them anywhere you want. My chair garden right now has not been done yet. I haven't touched it. It's on the other side of the yard. And what you'll see in there is a lot of tomato plants that are very, very tiny. The reason they're tiny is I haven't put any new matter in there, no green matter in there, so it isn't staying as warm. These are staying at about probably 68 to 70 degrees. I've gone around checking them with my thermometer, and they're pretty warm inside, about 68, 70 degrees, and probably even warmer in the center. The ones that were set up last year were all the matters now turned into beautiful compost. It's ready to use. I can take some out and move it to other totes. It's not that warm, so the tomatoes are staying small, and the peppers and the tomatillos that are coming up just from fruit that got in the bottom. but they're not ready to burst into big plants yet because it's not quite warm enough. The conditions, the climate, the weather isn't warm enough for them. But if I put them in one of these totes that are all freshly made this year, those are just taking off because of the warmth. It thinks it's in the middle of a warm spring day and they just want to grow. So keep that in mind if you want to get a jump start. And if you are doing totes, get one of them set up and try a few seeds in there and see how it goes for you. And then decide on which way you want to grow. You want to grow in the ground? Grow in the ground. You want to grow in raised beds? Grow in whatever is going to work for you, whatever you are going to like to grow in. Now, Gary, did his whole garden in wood chips and in the ground. But he has found that it's been a challenge dealing with rabbits, which he's kind of gotten the rabbits out now, but he still has gophers getting in there. And he found out that these actually just grow better. So let's fade in for a minute into Gary's garden. Yeah, you remember, he was going to do nothing but in the ground. Well, if you start to look around, you can see how he has changed. Yes, all the tree colored is in the ground. A lot of the greens are in the ground. The lemon verbena that's growing beautifulness in the ground. But look at this. Look at this. He's got totes starting to line up all around his yard. More totes there. Look at the ponds he's created. Why? So he doesn't have to water. He has no maintenance. He doesn't have to come down here for a long time. Remember, it all started with just a couple ponds? Look at the totes. Last year, he started to drop these in. These are for his ubays. Why? Because he got tired of looking for them. They get so big under the ground here that he has to dig up the hard ground looking for ubays. So now he's got them in totes. Now he's got buckets over there. And look at this. You talk about being busy? Look at all the totes he's setting up. Here he's collecting green matter that goes in his totes. Look at the beautiful onions. My goodness, look how gorgeous they are. He's got huge onions in this tote just sitting out in the middle. Notice the holes. This is not in a pond, it's on the ground. See the holes? He's left about an inch, inch and a half so water retains in there. It's successful, it works. Now look at all the totes he's setting up right now. He's got him in the middle of his yard. He's not fancy. He just puts them where he wants, and then he's got him up against the wall. Why are they up against the wall? He's creating microclimates. Up against the wall will be warmer. He can put anything that wants warmer temperatures. And then in the open, things that need cooler temperatures, like your onions, your other plants that don't need to have warm temperatures. So he's gone from strictly being in the ground to now growing in totes as well. And now I know where all my totes are going. They just contain the plants better, easier to water. You don't have to water them that often. It can only evaporate from the top. So water stays in there. I put my holes a little ways up so there's always water in there for the roots to go down. Plus, as it dries, the water will be sucked up into the soil. He has found when he's done it both ways, in the ground and in the raised beds and the totes, he's finding that the totes are doing much better for certain plants. So think about what way you want to do it. This has been the easiest for me, and don't worry about it getting too warm. No matter how much greens you pile in there, it's not deep enough to get that warm. You would have to have a big pile in order to create any very warm soil that would cook your plants. My plants are thriving. It's almost like a greenhouse effect, even though they're not covered. And the other thing is, if you're doing it in containers, I've made screen tops out of tulle, and I can protect my seedlings not from anything in the soil, not from the weather, but from birds that love to eat the new seedlings. I can protect them until they get those first new big leaves or second set of leaves, and then I can uncover them and let them take off and grow. So I hope I've given you some ideas on how to grow your garden, or maybe try it if you haven't done it. You might be surprised. With that, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye!